Welcome to the High Ticket Success Podcast, where premium coaches, consultants, and advisors come for bold strategies, big breakthroughs, and real results. I'm your host, Dave DeBoe. Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of High Ticket Success. Today it is my pleasure to be interviewing Trevor Timbeck, who is zooming in, fellow Canuck, zooming in from Ontario. And Trevor, I first heard about when I interviewed my old friend Steve Chandler, and we were talking about the book, The Power of Systems, because guess what? Trevor is the co-author of this book. And you know what? This is for me, this is a really good book. The whole idea of everything in our life is systems. They're just kind of working or not working, and how to identify them as such. So Trevor comes from a corporate background. And I believe, Trevor, you've been in the coaching world since 2017, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Something along those lines. And what I love about what Trevor's up to is he's combining, how can I put this in a politically correct way? Well, he's combining executive coaching with kind of the woo-woo self-development stuff that so many of us in the business world really need help with. So Trevor, welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Yeah, it's wonderful to be here. I appreciate you inviting me.
So Trevor, it's kind of fun because I was looking at your website and I was looking at your LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
and for a guy that comes from corporate IT, it's I love this because I work and play at the intersection of love, language, and leadership in that order. I transform busy leaders into powerful leaders through the mastery of language and the fundament of love. Yeah. So, and you say you're on a mission to transform the world of leadership from fear-based command and control to love-based inspire and enroll. I love that play on words. That's brilliant, actually. And it kind of gives me a good idea of what things are about. So yeah, Trevor, great to have you here. So maybe tell me a little bit more in depth about who it is that you serve as your coaching clients, and what you really kind of help them transform in their lives.
Yeah. So the sort of cheeky answer is I serve the person in front of me.
Uh-huh.
And by that, I mean, I don't really have a niche, or not one that I defined. All my clients come from referral. So it's definitely something that develops by people tend to refer people in similar spaces. So there's a
Right.
pattern that you could evaluate, but not by design. And really, a lot of what I help people work on, how I see it, they may not see it like this at the beginning, but how I help people is I really help them work on restoring their integrity.
Hmm.
Right. And to me,
Okay.
that is the foundation of workability and aliveness and so many other things. And so I don't always start off with those words and terms, but that's really what's going on. That's the game I'm playing in life.
Well, let me ask you a question then, Trevor. What does losing's one integrity look like in your experience?
Yeah.
Like what does that actually mean?
So for me, integrity is not the standard definition you get in the dictionary that talks about morality and ethics. Now, that can
Yeah.
be a component. For me, integrity is about energetic integrity and really comes from the root of the word integrity is the same as the root integer, which means whole. And so for me,
Hmm.
integrity is whole and complete. And it really is when people go out of integrity, they start leaking energy. And that's where a lot of exhaustion and other things come from. But also, if we take it out of the human domain, people get it really quick. If you have a bridge that lacks integrity, the bridge doesn't work anymore, right? Or if your
Uh-huh.
car lacks integrity, it's unable to carry the load it was designed to carry. That's a definition I learned recently from Jim Dethmer that comes from structural integrity, which we all get of,
Hmm.
when something is in structural integrity, it can carry the load it was designed to carry without deforming or collapsing or breaking down. And I love that part because so many leaders I work with are able to carry the load they were designed to carry, but they get deformed and collapsed and break down in so many
Yeah.
areas of their life. And when we restore integrity, we get all that workability back and fun and enjoyment of life.
That makes sense. So, Trevor, I mean, you come from a very corporate background. In fact, I think
Mm-hmm.
you used to work with Research in Motion, which, if I'm not mistaken, that was the BlackBerry guys, and
Mm-hmm.
all that kind of good stuff. And how did you go from that to getting into coaching?
It really started when I got promoted to a head of sales role, and I had zero sales background. And so I was sweating through my suit every day for a year because
Yeah,
all of a
I
sudden I
remember
had,
reading about that in the book. Yeah.
yeah, I had $40 million of responsibility and 40 people and no clue what I was doing. And after I read all of these books, I came across a book called Coaching Salespeople into Sales Champions. And
Mm,
I didn't know what coaching was at the time, but I hired the author, who's an amazing coach named Keith Rosen, to come in and coach me and my whole management team on coaching. And that just had such a big impact on that role, but then my life, that I fell in love with coaching and woke up and realized coaching was my favorite part of that job. So then I got my training and my certification, became chief talent officer to do that more. And then I had my own startup in the past and thought that would be the dream if I could coach full time for myself. So that's when I left the corporate world in like 2017 to start my own practice.
very nice. And this whole kind of philosophy about helping people become more um, integrated to set up their own working functional systems to be, whole. Was that kind of a work in progress, or did you kind of have clarity about that very, very early on in your coaching career?
Yeah, no, that's something I totally stumbled on
Hmm.
as I started my career and started reading and devouring everything Steve Chandler,
Hmm.
and started to notice some trends and themes in Steve's work, and then some of the other people like Alan Watts and other. Then in more on the science side, I just started to notice this pattern or a system that was at play, including this word system, and had an insight one day of systems, not psychology, is how it first showed up for me. And
Right.
when I shared it with Steve, he said, "You need to write a book on this." And when I wasn't doing anything about it, he said, can I write it with you?" Because he started to apply it, which I thought that was strange. I figured I was getting this from Steve. So what do you mean he was applying it? But it was
Yeah.
really how we started talking about it, and you know how we were sharing it even with our clients, that we just noticed it was working really quickly. And that's when then the idea and then the actual material from the book came from.
Well, then you guys created your own system for writing the book, which I thought was
Yes.
brilliant. So tell us a little bit about that, because I think that helped you get things rolling and keep things rolling and made it much more enjoyable.
It totally did. And this was all on Steve. He just one day in a simple email said, "Here's a system I propose is I'll send you the first chapter. You'll take 4 days to send me a chapter back, and we'll just keep going back and forth each day, each time having 4 days to send a chapter back." And I loved it because I probably would have taken 4 weeks for every chapter if he hadn't said it, and it kept the conversation rolling, but also prevented me from getting too stuck on, is this perfect, is this right? We had a brilliant editor
Mhm.
in Chris Nelson, so I let all of that go, and it just started to flow as a conversation.
Yeah, when we stop overthinking it and just kind of go for it. I love that part of the book too. It's kind of a back and forth conversation between you and Steve. Each chapter is each one of you having your own take on that particular topic. So yeah. So how long did it take the two of you to kind of write the book that way?
Yeah, so from start to actual publication was a little under a year.
Good. Very, very
Yeah.
good. And I'm not sure when the book came out exactly, but what kind of impact have you seen from having the book released? How has that affected you or your business, or what have you seen come from it?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of conversations get started, right? Either through this podcasts like this, or other
Mhm.
coaches taking it up and then reaching out. And I've had a lot of webinars that I've been invited to, and groups that I've spoken with. And since then, I've started my own group about the book after multiple people kept asking when I was going to do that. And so, really, what it has done that I've noticed is it's just started to introduce and spread this conversation about systems and the power of systems, and that shift from what I often sometimes say, the shift from ego to ecology, right? To see like it's not about me and it's not about something inside of me that's wrong. It's just there's something in the system, and when we play with this, we get different results.
Exactly. Yeah, it looks like we got a little jittery there with the Wi-Fi, but I heard everything that you said there, Trevor. Perfect. Maybe
Okay.
just for some of the other coaches and consultants out there, maybe tell us a little bit about how you've set up your business, what the sweet spot is for you for number of clients that you like to be working with at any particular time, how your client engagements kind of work. Do you mind kind of sharing a little bit about the nitpicky side of the business for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's all contained in The Prosperous Coach, the first book I came across of Steve's. I just copied all of Steve's systems from that book, right? So my practice is entirely referral based, and it's so I sort of say the old fashioned way of just serving people really powerfully and having them talk about it, word of mouth, and refer people in. That's my business.
Very nice. And when you're working with a client, how many how many hours a month are you coaching them? Do you do weekly calls, monthly calls? What does that typically look like?
Yeah. So I don't have a standard template, but I would say the average is a 90-minute call every second week. So that would be like 3 hours of conversation a week. And then there are touch points and other things in between the sessions, but that's sort of the foundation of it. And I typically, my preference is working with people for a year, but I'll do six
Mhm.
months. And when I first started, I would do less than 6 months. I just noticed that doesn't work. So typically 6 months to a year, but I have one client, my longest running client has been with me for 7 years.
Nice. Very nice. And Trevor, you're getting referrals and word of mouth business growth is key for you. Just waiting for those to happen organically doesn't always happen. Do you do anything to kind of encourage that and get that rolling, or you just let your clients do the talking for you?
Yeah, no, I have a system,
Mm.
not surprising. And it's a simple system that I learned from Steve, which is I give all of my clients the gift of giving 2 hours of my time to anyone in their world that they think
Smart.
I could be help. And I commit to them that I won't sell them coaching, right? If they don't ask to work with me, I won't even bring it up, right? It really is a gift that they can give. It's not a way to generate business. It does often turn into business, either that person or someone else. And, I have a system that I learned from Steve, and that when people refer people to me, I thank them multiple times. When the person who signed up with me, if they renew, I get them to call the person who referred them and thank them, because they often say, or if they have a great session, they're like, "Thank you so much. I love working with you." I always slow down and say, oh, actually, well, we're only working together because Bill referred you. Would you mind calling Bill and telling him
Nice.
how excited you are about it?
Nice. Very, very smart. Chandler, he's got some good ideas, I tell you.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
So Trevor, you come from you were kind of foisted into that sales position, not having a clue what you're doing and managing a whole team and all of that kind of stuff. How, if at all, does any of that back experience in the corporate world come to play in your own coaching business these days? Do you apply any of that, or is it just a completely different world?
So I apply lots of things I've learned from that experience, but my whole life. For me, the biggest part that gave me was my passion and excitement and commitment to coaching, because I experienced the impact of coaching on my life.
Hmm.
And so it made such a big difference in that role, and then ultimately in my life, even in my career. So that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about it, but why I also say to people, I'll have a coach the rest of my life, right? Because for me, coaching is not about something wrong with me or broken, but I've experienced how powerful it is. And that part in my career really helped teach me a lot of things about leadership and what I didn't know, and what works and what doesn't
Yeah,
around leadership. And also the other reason why I got into coaching, because I experienced how lonely sometimes it can be to be a leader, and you can't always talk to your boss about something, or you can't always go to your team. And so having a coach or another person on your side was just so valuable.
definitely. This is a little bit more of a tactical question here, Trevor, but let's say something disastrous happened. You lost your entire client base and you're starting all over again from scratch and you had to rebuild your coaching business as quickly as possible. What would you do to land your first clients quickly?
So I love this question because I've actually gone through it before.
Okay.
mostly because I noticed I would sometimes have fear come up about, the next client or what happened. And so I just one day sat down and said, okay, let's say all my clients quit tomorrow. And all of a sudden I started to get excited because I realized I've done this already. I did it at the start of and now
Yeah.
I know so much more. I have and I was like, oh, it would be so easier to do it now, and I would do things differently. And so all of a sudden, something that was for me as a very fearful thing I wanted to avoid, I started getting excited about it. And part of what I slowed down, I was like, the first step was I would reread The Prosperous Coach. Even though I've read it multiple times or whatever, I'd be like, okay, so let me slow down. Let me get regrounded in The Prosperous Coach and all the systems that I applied to build my practice the first time. But I can then apply all the things I've learned since then, right? And to me, it would be something similar to what I started is I would go to people in my world who already know and love me. I wouldn't start out with the unwashed masses of the internet.
Yeah.
And I would tell them, this is what I'm up to. And I would just start coaching. And then I would ask for referrals, right? Or give them the gift of that, right? But that's how I did it. Even in the beginning, if
Yeah.
someone wanted to refer someone to me, I would give them coaching before they would refer. I didn't want them to say, I know Trevor, I hear he's a good coach. I would want them to say, I want to introduce you to someone who's changed my life or had a big impact, or I had one conversation and it switched so many things for me. And so that's all I would do again, right? To me, I love that approach because the business of coaching and the activity of daily coaching for me are the exact same thing. And that's what I got from the book. Steve had the two circles and he said there's the business of coaching and then there's coaching itself. And the more you can have those two circles overlap, the more you'll enjoy this, right? And so for me, I've got them completely overlapped. I don't have a business of coaching side. I just have coaching and
Yeah.
serving people and referring. And so I would take that exact same approach. I would be more committed to it now, having experienced the power of it.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that. So, Trevor, as we're wrapping things up here, I'm sure there's going to be folks that are interested in connecting with you. There's going to be some folks interested in finding out more about the book. What would you recommend they do? How do you like to get in touch with new people?
Yeah. So you can do as simple as Googling me. I'm the only Trevor Timbeck in the world. My family is actually the only Timbecks in the world. My immediate family. So we kind of have the joke of we might be in the witness protection program and we don't know about it. But that's the easiest way. Otherwise, you can go to trevortimbeck.com, which is my website, which really just points you to my email address is on that website. Or, people can use LinkedIn. I'm very easy to find since I'm the only Trevor Timbeck in the world.
That's surprising because it is a different name, but not that different. So,
No.
yeah, I,
Yes.
that's pretty cool. Awesome, Trevor. Well, hey, thank you so much for being on the show. This has been a lot of fun. And thank you very much for writing the book with Steve. I'm sure that must have been a very enjoyable process for you, kind of getting to work with your mentor and the teacher becoming the student because Steve has nothing but great things to say about you and what he's learned from you. So found it so funny that you kind of got this distinction about systems from Steve, and then you taught
Hmm.
Steve about systems. That is beautiful. So thanks for being on the show. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
All right, everybody, take care, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for listening to the High Ticket Success Podcast. Want to be featured? Share your story and inspire other premium coaches, consultants, and advisors? Apply now at highticketsuccesspodcast.com/guest.